The root cause of violent crime and drug addiction in any community can be directly related to the lack of resources and opportunities that are available.
One of our records analysts did a statistic, and I think it's more closer to 60, 70,000 people that we serve, because of all the traveling, because of the pueblos, because of the counties that we have, and it's unfortunately we go by population that we get our money, So financially, we're not getting the money that we should be getting, and it's very concentrated here in this little city, So when you put all of that together and you have a police force of only 27, you can do the math on we have one violent crime that takes 2 or 3 of our officers, that pretty much handicaps us in the rest of the city.
Jobs or lack of education, definitely. I always say parents need a parenting class. I think they need there needs to be some kind of mandate for a parenting class for parents. I also think that the jobs that are here are dead-end jobs. And if they don't have the education or the schooling, they're kind of stuck at those dead-end jobs. I also think, again, generational. Sometimes they're afraid to move away, or they can't move away. And unfortunately, we have lost a lot of families that have moved away to Albuquerque or other states. And again, it's economic, it's jobs.
We go to a lot of these houses. We get, as first responders, we get to actually go into the house, and see how people are living. They welcome us in. So we get to see a lot of these people that are in poverty with several kids, 4 or 5 kids at the house. So that is a huge issue. And just finding resources for them, parenting classes, trying to get them out of poverty, trying to help them get a job.
We have a high percentage of students being raised by grandparents. A high percentage. In my classroom alone, my current 18 students, I have 3 students being raised by grandparents, 1 student being raised by an aunt. And to me, that's a high percentage. In the past, I've had almost half my class being raised by grandparents and being bounced from one grandparent to another.
We see children coming in with grandparents or extended family caretakers, caregivers, not the parents of the kids, because so many kids in the valley, about 60% are raised by grandparents due to recovery, incarceration, death, suicide. So the kids are lacking. They're sort of in a form of trauma. They're in a dis-ease, if you will.
We see a lot of economic issues with our students' families. Poverty is really high. 100% of our students are free lunch. They get free breakfast, free lunch, and our after-school kids get free dinner. We service about 120 students in our after-school program, so about 120 of them get a free dinner. School supplies, usually out of my own pocket. Our students don't come to school with jackets, so we've provided jackets for them. Sometimes that comes out of our pockets, sometimes the community helps out. Shoes, they come to school with holes in their shoes. We provide shoes for the kids. The economic issues in our valley are just, and I don't know if it's the whole valley or just the area I serve. Being a teacher in this area, it's just the dynamics is really hard. Our kids need a lot of TLC. They need a lot of care.
I believe that children and young people in the valley are gravitating toward drug addiction and activities that we don't want them to because they haven't seen enough of another opportunity. There's also a great deal of healing that has to happen, social, emotional wellness, somatic work. The schools cannot offer an envelope that gives wraparound services, and I believe that that's the best way that we can address some of these issues, because the family unit can't do it on their own. They're crippled, they're broken, they're struggling. And so I believe that if we can strengthen the school system through programs like Communities in Schools, which is essentially a wraparound service provision of all sorts of beautiful things that are needed in schools to help the administrators, the teachers, the nurses, the counselors to do their work better, but to really help the families and the students have what they need, the basic needs. Sometimes it's food or legal support or a tutor or social emotional group work, just to address the behaviors and the issues that are really debilitating them from achieving in school.
I'm going to go back to the funding and the resources. The fact that these, and I'll just give you an example. We had a person calling us, a lady calling us, telling us that her child was having some issues, mental health issues, and because of those mental health issues, she feels like she's self-medicating with prescription medication and what have you. Now, we don't have anything here in the community, and as far as I know, the state, that will help these people unless they're on Medicaid, unless they are getting some assistance. So if you have a middle-class family that is trying to do the right thing and support their family, they can't just go get funding and resources to get their kid help unless they've committed a crime and they're in the juvenile justice system, or if they pay a ridiculous amount of money, right, to do that on their own. And even if they do that, now you're on a voluntary basis with these kids. Okay, so now these kids have a choice to either sign up or be in there voluntarily. The other thing is if they're not on Medicaid, then the system pretty much says, well, I'm sorry, we can't do anything for you. For the area, that they've distributed a vast amount of, I think it was opioid, if I'm not mistaken, for this area, and again, it's frustrating. What do you do, because you have these people who are addicted to narcotics, drugs, and if they get it legally through a prescription, then our hands are tied, But if they go through those detoxes and those withdrawals that we were talking about earlier, they're going to feed those, they're going to try to cure themselves, is what they call it. And they're going to try to cure that illness through whatever means, whether it's prescription, whether it's over-the-counter medication, abusing that, alcohol, illegal drugs. So it's unfortunate and it's sad, especially in a place like Española, where you have an epidemic even without the prescription drugs.
A lot of our kids don't think they can go to college. And, I tell them differently. Second graders, I'm still telling them differently. My third graders, I would tell them differently. You know, it's not always college either. You know, I tell them we need mechanics, we need plumbers, we need everything. And that's another thing I worry about, because a lot of those people, the skilled tradespeople, are older. What's going to happen when that generation's gone? I also think maybe they think that's not for them. You know, that happens somewhere else, not here. That can be over there, or that could never happen to me. We're seeing students with PTSD. We're seeing students with emotional issues that I could never fathom having at their age. Couldn't even fathom having it now. Things that they've been exposed to, things that they've seen, things that they've heard. I think we need to address that. Our particular school does not have a full-time counselor. We have a part-time counselor we share with another school, so our students don't have that service available to them whenever they need. We also do not have a full-time nurse. So when we get our students in school and they have little owies, or they need, you know, hygiene issues, or they have other issues going on, we have to deal with it as teachers because we don't have a nurse full-time here also. We share it with another school. Our parents love and care for their kids. They're doing the best that they can. They have their own problems and their own issues, and it's unfortunate that our kids are a part of what they see at home. Sometimes that's a normal for them. Then they come to school and they realize not everybody's like that.
And so it was sad. It was sad. You know, we passed the Senate. I mean, there was not one person that voted against it. And from what I'm told, when it went to the floor, the floor did not want to give that money to the law enforcement agencies so we could pay for more equipment, so we can have more money for officers and training. And it was sad. You know, it was really sad. Because then I thought for sure, you know, who's going to say no to police officer funding? I learned a great lesson that year.
I personally think, and I take this as part of my mission, what I do in my life is my work in this stage that I have and what I do, I'm trying to show it to students and kids because I really believe that I have an opportunity to reach in and be a person who says, hey, look at this stuff that I'm doing. You can do it too.
Recognizing that we have a problem and we have to work together to fix it. And that's a perfect illustration of what Roger and Ralph did to bring the community together to support the Pathway Shelter and help these individuals rather than look down upon them and kind of shun them, right? Now the community wants to help. There's volunteers and there's just a lot of passion. And I think that's very positive for our community.
It's not going to happen overnight, but I think that we're on the right path, and to show that people that, like I said, this is my home. I was born here, and I love this place. I love the people here, and I don't see it. Even being a first responder and being a firefighter, and we go to all these calls, like they're humans, and yeah, they might be addicts, but I don't see this as a bad place.